with this, I have three main points I'm going to talk about today. And so the first one is just having intention on your demos. Second is showing qualified customers. And then I'm going to talk about dropping down slowly. Okay. So, and by the way, throughout this, the rest of the meeting and throughout my message, if you guys find a nugget or learn something new, I want you guys to throw it in the chat box so we can get some, engagement, some excitement happening for all the speakers and everyone attending today. So, first up with your intention on your demo. Okay, what is your intention? Are you guys committed to selling? All right, or are you just telling them about Cutco? All right, because telling isn't selling. There's a really big difference. All right, and how many of you can think of a time that you were guilty of doing this in a demo? Maybe you were tired. Maybe you had a bad day or a bad week. You had a no sell. All right, you went to a demo and you weren't really trying to sell. You were kind of just going through the motions. Okay, can anybody relate to being guilty of that at least once or twice? A few of you? Great. So, all right, and so you're just going through the motions. And when you got to the end of the demo, all right, if they bought, you didn't really care. All right, that was fine. Well, it's a pretty weak demo, I'm not going to lie. And so I want you guys to write this down in relation to this point. It's that all results are born from your intentions. Okay? All results are born from your intentions. So whether the result is to make a sale on a demo or the result to get a good grade in school, all right, all began with your intention to make that sale, the intention to put the effort in to do well in school, right? So if you get good grades, that was the result that you got because you had the intention of getting those good grades. All right. Now, here's the problem is that the mistake reps make is they don't have the intention of selling or they don't have the intention of how much they want to sell. All right. And so our average order, it's based on the things that we do leading up to the demo, based on the intention for what the average is going to be based on what we sell during the demo. All right. All these things affect your average order size. Think of this. All right. If you wanted to have a $100 average order size, if that was your goal, your thoughts, your words, your intentions, everything you can align to make that happen. All right. You would, put those in alignment. And so if your intention was to have a $100 average order size, you probably wouldn't start on the ultimate set. You'd probably drop down a lot faster. And then if they gave you objections, when they gave you objections, you probably just kind of say, okay, yeah, you're right, Mrs. Jones. All right. And if they said, hey, can I buy just one knife? You probably say, yeah, you can buy a couple knives, Mrs. Jones, and you drop right down. Okay. So if your intention is to sell $100, then you're going to align your thoughts, your words, and your actions to produce that result of $100 average order size. Okay. So if that's true, it must be true for any average order size. So if you wanted it to be $400 or $500 or more, all right, you're also going to align your thoughts and words and actions before your presentation and while you're doing the presentation to produce those results. Okay. And so it really all starts with setting your intention, how much you want to sell. Okay. I remember listening to a talk by Hal Elrod. Some of you may have heard of him before. He's a Hall of Fame Cutco rep. And he decided to put this to the test. One day he decided that he wanted to see if he could determine or to decide his average order size. And he knew that it had to be something big because that way he knew it wasn't a coincidence. So he couldn't do just like a $500 average order size because he'd done that before. All right, so he needed to make sure it was a large average order so he could make sure the theory was true. So the next morning he woke up and he had 3 appointments and he decided he wanted to go for a $1,000 average order size for that day. And as he was getting ready for those appointments, he walked by his roommate who also sold Cutco that summer. His name was Tim. All right. And Tim, he told Tim that he was going to sell $3,000 a day. All right. And Tim asked him why. He was wondering if he had a lot of good demos lined up. All right. Hal wasn't sure yet because he hadn't done the appointments yet. And Tim was a little confused on why he knew that and asked him, how do you know you're going to sell $3,000? All right. And he said, because he was deciding to do it. He was setting the intention that he was going to sell $3,000 for the day. He had 3 appointments, so he's going to average $1,000 per appointment. So what happened is he started higher. All right, he closed higher than he normally would. All right, he closed on the ultimate set. He's talked about it as if it was the set to get. And when they gave him an objection, all right, he didn't just drop down. He stuck with it a little bit longer. All right, and his thoughts, his words, and his actions were all aligned. All right, because of that. In his mind, the intention of a $1,000 average order size. Okay, so he stayed above $1,000. All right, as long as he possibly could. Now, he did those 3 appointments for the day, and then he went home, and his roommate Tim was still sitting at home watching TV. And he asked him, "Hey, when he got back, how'd your little experiment go today? You sell $3,000? Hal said, I got close. I sold about $4,300 for the day."
I'm on a Zoom.
Yes, we were on our Zoom. All right. And how he used this strategy for that year. And he said it was the biggest key of him selling $200,000 for that calendar year. Right. He decided every day, all right, how much he wanted to sell, what his average order was going to be. And he would call it out to his roommate, Tim, every day. More often than not, he hit it and it made it happen. Okay. So your intention matters so much. And I promise you that, if Hal hadn't, set the intention in the first place, it wouldn't have, came true. Now, the second one is showing qualified customers, right? In my opinion, this is the number one thing that you can do to impact how much you sell on your appointments. All right. Think of it this way. If you're going to, win a race, would you want to start behind everyone else? Probably not. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. All right. You can be the fastest person on the planet, but you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage, all right, by starting behind everyone. And you're not going to get the results that you want. So no matter what your division calls your qualified customers, whether it's a HM3 or a MAC customer or CSW, all right, stands for married, all right, owns a home, all right, and over 30. So when you show them, it just makes sense for them. Why is that? There's really a lot of reasons why, but I'm going to talk about 2 main ones today. The first one is your qualified customers, they appreciate things in the home. Okay? I want you to think back to when you were a little kid and your mom said, don't put a cup on the coffee table unless you have a coaster underneath it, right? Because you're going to leave a little ring on the table, all right? And when you were a little kid, you didn't care, all right, about leaving the ring on the table. Why? Because you didn't buy the thing, all right? And so it didn't matter to you, okay? And if you're in college, I want you to think about the things you spend your money on. Okay, I remember being in college. I wasn't worried about buying anything for my apartment. In fact, I don't think I've ever bought anything in my apartment when I was in college. Maybe I bought like 1 plate, 1 cup. That was about it. And so as a college student, you don't really care about the things for your home. Okay, your customers, they appreciate the things that they're putting in their home, and they take pride in the things that they own. Okay, I think the nicest thing I bought in college was a pair of shoes. Wasn't something from my house. Now, the second key, all right, is they cook actual meals. All right, your qualified customers, they have way more value for the product because it's way too expensive for a family to eat out all the time, right? Even if they're eating fast food, they're still spending 3 to 5 times as much as if they just cooked at home. All right, and so when your qualified customers say they eat out a lot, they probably eat out 2 to 3 times a week. Okay. And so for your customers who aren't married and aren't over 30, they don't cook at home as much. Why? Is because it's a lot easier for them to go out last minute when they don't feel like cooking, right? Because they don't have kids that are depending on them to make some food. All right. And it's also a lot easier to cook for a family versus one person. If you're in college, you understand that it's probably the nicest meal you make as some top ramen in the microwave. All right. Now, a second part to showing qualified customers is also showing the couples together. All right. Why? Is because you're handling one of the objections before they come up. All right. One of the main objections that they can say on the presentation is, I need to talk to my spouse. Okay. Well, if you're showing them together, all right, it eliminates that before it comes up. That's the best way to handle an objection. All right. And they can make the decision together, which also leads them to buying bigger and more sets. Again, why is that? It's because they get to pick out what they want and get the best deal together. All right. When you do the demo with just Mrs. Jones, she still buys about 50% of the time, right? But usually she leans to getting a smaller order, more like pieces versus a set. Okay. Because every couple, they have a limit of how much they want to spend or how much they can spend without getting permission or needing to talk to their spouse to get approval. All right. Think about if Mrs. Jones, if her husband went to the hardware store, he's not going to call her and ask for permission first to buy a power drill. Okay. And so with Cutco, she's getting the tools for the kitchen, which, by the way, get used a lot more. Okay. So I remember my first demo outside of training. It was with one of my best friend's parents. Their names were Todd and Sarah Zeller. Sarah, she's an elementary school teacher. Todd ran his own business, and Todd was my baseball coach for 1 year. Played 1 year baseball, and I played basketball with his son throughout high school. And I remember leaving training thinking that I had the appointment down, it was going to be easy. Okay, but when I called Todd and Sarah for the appointment, I remember being like a deer in the headlights. Okay, forgot everything I learned in the training over the 3 days, and all I remembered was one thing: follow the manual. So that's what I did with my first presentation, stumbled through it. And I remember when I got to the homemaker set, all right, I asked, hey, would you like to try your homemaker set today and get your free gifts? All right. And Todd and Sarah, I'm assuming they turned to each other. It was a virtual demo. I couldn't see them. It was just a phone call. All right. But I hear they asked one question. What do you think? Do you want to get it? All right. Sarah, she thought about it for about 5 seconds, said, yeah, let's try it out. All right. And that's really when I understood the importance of showing qualified customers, because it was the worst presentation I'd ever done in my entire career. All right. And they still bought a set because it just made sense for them. Now, the last thing, I'm going to talk about dropping down slowly. Okay. I want you to be totally honest. All right. And I want you to think to yourself real quick. All right. Does anyone feel a little bit comfortable when you're dropping down? Some of you maybe. All right. When you're new going through the drop down, it can be hard enough just to ask them to buy the homemaker set. And then if they know that, they're like, well, I don't want to try to, ask them to buy something else if they already said no. All right. Then after you show them the galley set and they say no again, now it's like, man, I don't really want to show them another option. I don't want to feel like I'm being pushy or pressure or anything like that. So it's totally natural to feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially once you're newer to dropping the stairs. So I'm going to help you out with giving you a few things to make you feel more comfortable dropping down, and also really help your customer make the best decision and to get a set somewhere along the line. So first thing is a lot of reps. One of the reasons why they lose on dropping down is they don't spend a lot of time of building up the next set. So I think about a typical demo. You go through the entire presentation. You're talking about the homemaker set for 20, 25, 30 minutes, building up the homemaker set. And if that doesn't work for them, then you spend about 10 seconds on the galley set. All right. Well, no wonder they don't want to get the galley set. All right. They want to buy the homemaker set later. All right. That's the one you were all excited about. They spent a lot of time on. All right. So one of the biggest keys is making sure that you sell them on the other set, making sure you're building up the next option. All right. You also kind of want to sell them off the last set as well. So when you're going through the homemaker, most reps, they can ask for the homemaker, piece of cake, great. If that doesn't work for them, use a secret weapon. If you haven't been to Advanced Training 1 yet, then make sure you go to Advanced Training 1 so you can learn about the secret weapon. All right, and then you can explain the 5-pay and have them write it down. If the homemaker doesn't work, I found that's usually where reps will experience some kind of anxiety and have a little bit of trouble dropping down. So what I'm going to do is have you write down 2 questions to use before you drop down to the galley set. All right. And so when you finish with the homemaker sets and they said it didn't work for them, all right, and you try the secret weapon, didn't work for them. They said, maybe I'll buy it, maybe I'll buy it later. Can I buy pieces? All right. And so you transition down to the galley set. But before you go to the galley set, there's these 2 questions. So the first one is, Mrs. Jones, do you carve a turkey every day? If you're not writing these down in your notes, try it down in your notes. All right. Do you carve a turkey every day? All right, the second question is, hey, do you cut heavy duty stuff all the time? And you want to say these 2 questions before you drop down to the galley set. All right, and so what 90% of your customers are going to say to that? They're going to say, no, I don't carve a turkey every day. No, I don't do heavy duty stuff all the time. All right. And so then you say, okay, Betty, well, this next set will be perfect for you because it's just like the homemaker set, except it takes out the carving set because you said you don't carve a turkey every night. And it takes out the heavy duty butcher's knife because you said you don't, do heavy duty stuff all the time, right? So it looks like, you're going to actually use all these knives. It has that one long double D edge, all right, instead of 2, like the last one. And you still got that long straight edge so you can do all your chopping. You still have the mini carving set or a mini carving set. So if you had to carve something up, you could. And then you still get those little ones that you're going to use all the time for those smaller ones. All right, you can use on all sorts of different stuff. So now instead of $1,326 like the homemaker set, it's only $957. All right, which is only $149 or $194 on the 5-pay, which is only $49 a week. All right, does that work better for you, Mrs. Jones? I can still throw in the super shares for free, by the way. All right. So you see what happened here is before they even know what a galley set is or that it was there. All right. But because of the questions you asked, you're getting them thinking, wow, yeah, I don't know if I'd use the carving set or the butcher's knife all the time. I wish there was a set without the carving set and the butcher's knife. All right. Then what do you show them? You show them a set without the carving set and the butcher's knife. All right. So they're almost hoping for the galley set. It's also it's almost like you custom built the galley set. All right, just for them because of those questions you asked. Right, and so those two questions make it your transition much smoother to the galley, and you're going to sell a lot more galley sets. Now, not everybody buys a galley set, and I found that going to the starter sets, that's really where reps they start going because the customer already said no to the homemaker set, they said no to the galley set. So then they get down to the starter sets and they're like, well, there's this essential set, there's a studio set, and there's this kitchenette set. And by the time they get to the third one, all right, by the time you get to the third one, they've already forgotten about the first one. And they're just like, hey, can I buy pieces? And you're pumped up because they said they want to buy something. You're just excited to write up any order. All right. Now they're missing out on a set discount. They're missing out on getting the right knives for the right job. So what you want to do before this is you want to go to the starter sets. All right, before you go to the starter sets, when you're on the galley set, after you've gone over the galley set, you've gone over the pieces, you've shown the secret weapon for the galley. If it's not the best set for them, you're going to ask them 2.5 questions.
Actually, you know what, Wyatt, we will have you send those questions to managers and they'll cover it individually.